She thinks
The Utah Jazz on a furious flurry late. Get it down to a single point, but it's not enough as they fall to the Brooklyn Nets, and the play-in hopes are dwindling. 111-110 the final. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz could not score tonight. I mean, it was an offensive slog all night. They were like elite, inefficient levels. They were at some of the worst offensive numbers, and then all of a sudden, 42 points in the fourth quarter. They closed the game on a fabulous flurry and get it down to a single possession where Kelly Olynyk doesn't really get a great look and is not able to tie the ball game, and actually in that case would have won it after Seth Curry missed the first free throw, only his second miss at the free throw line all year, and then we think intentionally missed the second free throw, which would make some sense. Ron Boone, let's go to the fourth quarter. What'd they do so well?
You can start with the first quarter where they outscored by 13, and now they're in a hole, and they got to dig themselves out of a hole. Fourth quarter, I thought they start playing with a sense of urgency.
Stop for a second. All right, we're going to have to restart. Oh, we can't restart because we're streaming live. His volume is just super low and mine's super high, so they're not even at all coming in. Go ahead.
The fourth quarter, it's like they play with a sense of urgency. I mean, they start gambling a little bit. And then again, it said during the broadcast, doubling late in the clock there really threw the Nets off. Now you're struggling, and you get the clock's not your friend, and you're not getting those good looks. And the Jazz are out and running, but getting to the basket. I can't remember how many layups they got there in that fourth quarter, but they scored a ton of layups there in the fourth quarter to close with 42 points.
Jazz in the fourth quarter it looks to me like they had 10 shots at the rim in the fourth quarter, going 6 of 10, 8 of 10 in the fourth quarter at the rim. So, and they did hit 3 threes. Ochai hit a big one. So it was definitely a rim attack fourth quarter. For the game, the Jazz did not shoot the three well, and they have not, frankly, shot the three particularly well since the trade deadline. Jazz, since the trade deadline, are 27th in the NBA. Tonight, the Jazz were 22 of 34 at the rim, so they really did live at the rim tonight.
Yeah, it was a good thing because obviously the three-point shot wasn't falling, and the three-point shot didn't fall for the Nets there as well. They were also 8 for 32, from the field from the three-point line. But fortunately enough, the Jazz were able to get to the rim. Surprisingly get to the rim, because I've always thought that Claxton was a pretty good rim protector. But the way they were taking him away from the basket and with the three-point shot threat, Tucker, Markkanen, and then Kelly Olynyk got a couple of there as well in that fourth quarter.
All right, let's go to the offensive struggle. The Jazz do come into this game since the trade deadline 22nd in the league offensively. They score 17 points in the first quarter tonight, going 2 of 10 from 3, 7 of 20 from the field. They score 42 points in the first half. Their offensive rating was an 87.5. At the end of 3 quarters, their offensive rating was an 88. Let me put this in perspective for a second. There's only been 25 games all year where a team had an offensive rating below 90 for a game. They are 0-25. There are only 53 games all year where a team was below 92.5. They're 1-52. And we were at 88. So if we take the first 36 minutes of this game, and I don't want to ignore the 42-minute fourth quarter because that flurry was awesome, and that is, the essence of this team. But Lowry was back. You were hoping that might relieve the burden on some of our guys. But the offense just really is having a tough time right now. There just may not be enough firepower.
That's the key right there. There's definitely not enough firepower, and Markkanen gets up 21 shots tonight, which I think is about right for the type of offensive power that the Jazz have. But it's they're making Markkanen work really, really hard now in order to score. So
share what Brooklyn did. That was different. We haven't seen someone do that to Lowry before.
Well, you make him put the ball on the floor, and once he starts driving to the basket, and teams know that guys and going so far, then they want to spin. You see Tucker do it as well. And so when he drives and he gets to a certain area, now there's a trailer guy coming, especially if they switch, and they're catching him before he can spin. And that keeps him from shooting over the top of tall defenders and, things like that. So you can do that to Tucker. You can also do that to Russell Westbrook. Guys like that drive real hard, then they spin back to the middle. But Giannis is another one that they tried to do against. Do that against, but he's so good at it.
Did Lowry adapt as the night went on to what they were doing?
I don't think. Well, yes, because he stopped driving. I think he drove right one time and he did not spin, and he has that hang time when he drives, like get up in the air, and then he has a little hang time. That's a deep end to go by, and then he banks it off the glass. He did that a couple of times on the right side, but he did not spin that much.
So he stopped spinning. If he drove, he was going all the way to the rack. He
right.
stopped trying to spin in that second half. That was it. Interesting, the Jazz have played around with the zone a lot, and there have been nights where it's good, and there have been nights where it's bad. Against Phoenix, it was outstanding. They held him like 0.79 points per possession. If you go to some of the other games here recently, the zone has really, really struggled in some of the other matchups. Against Sacramento, it struggled. And then they didn't play it a lot against – they played it only one possession against Boston. They played only 9 possessions against San Antonio. And then they brought it out tonight, and it got kind of torched. And some of that's just, hey, they made 4 shots. Unofficially, Brooklyn was 15 of 26 on possessions in which the Jazz were in the zone, so scoring it well over 50%. That's unofficial. We'll see whether those numbers turn out to be right. We asked our stats guy, Larry, to do that tonight. He does the best he can. But the real stretch of the game where the game got out of hand for the Jazz was they hit 4 straight threes. Now, that's obviously unusual. No one's going to hit 100%, so it can be a little bit of a sample size issue. But the zone is really fluctuating between success and non-success depending on the night.
The success is when they're making threes. And if they're making twos, you for the most part, you can live with that. But it's the threes that has been the separator. We saw it against Boston, and even though the Jazz end up, winning that ball game, I think it's in Salt Lake when they first started, using the zone. So the threes, especially that corner three, has been the separator, and when the zone is working and when it's not. I thought for the most part, for the time that they ran it, especially here in that third quarter when they started running a little bit, and then it carried over into the fourth quarter for the first part of the fourth quarter, because the Nets were not making 3-point shots. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they attempted that many in that fourth quarter.
Let's go back to the final sequence of the game. Some interesting moves. We talk about coaching a lot. Will Hardy did some things really, really well. First off, Ochai's 3. The Jazz are really, really good at time and score of when to shoot threes and when not to. And that got it to be a really legitimate flurry. But then I'll give Jacques Vaughn credit. I thought they did 2 things that were really smart. One, Jazz had the ball down 3, and they fouled, which forced the Jazz to make free throws, 2 free throws, and then you're not trailing. And then the second one was after Seth Curry missed the first free throw. With 5 seconds left, I think that's the right play, is to miss that next free throw, because while it makes it a 1-point game and in theory you could lose, you also, that second that it took Lowry Markkanen to rebound and throw an outlet and not get it necessarily to the guy you want to get it to, is really valuable at that point, maybe more valuable than the extra point.
Yeah, it's a gamble, but it's a good gamble for the most part. You look at what players you have out on the floor, because obviously if you miss that free throw, you got 2 bigs there to try to get the rebound, okay? And so now they have to secure the rebound and find an outlet pass. Or if they're going to bring the ball up the floor, then that's probably what a visiting coach wants. But it turned out to be a smart play. They did not get a comfortable shot at it, but
it would be really interesting to go back and look at the replay and look and see whether or not Brooklyn's guards went and denied the ball to Horton Tucker and Abaji and Chris Dunn, who were on the floor. In other words,
yes,
we're going to miss this free throw, and we're going to force Lowry Markkanen or Kelly Olynyk to bring the ball up the floor.
It's a good point. It'd be good to see that. I know Kelly Tucker was on the opposite side of the floor from us anyway. And that would be something we need to take a look at.
Well, we got a plane flight into a storm to be able to do that tonight. All right, Walker Kessler, by the way, left the game with concussion evaluation. He did not look great. He got hit and was really woozy. He was walking around a little nutty. So hopefully he'll be all right. We'll see what the evaluation on that was. 2 stars tonight. Taylor Horton-Tucker led the Jazz with 32 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Lowry meandered his way to 23. Chris Dunn had 13. I'm curious to know what you're going to go with, Ron Boone, here for your 2 stars.
I'd like to go with Marketing, but I really think I'd like to see this go to Abaji, especially since he made that big 3.
Yeah, and you're giving the other one to Taylor?
And Taylor, yes.
I will say this. I thought Juan Toscano-Anderson and Chris Dunn's defense on Dinwiddie and Bridges in the fourth quarter was kind of awesome. Yeah. If I could split a star and give it just to their defense, I thought they changed the game with the way they were playing defense in the fourth quarter. They may not be, have changed the game with their offense. And some of their lack of scoring or ability to score on those 2 guys is probably part of the reason why the offense is struggling. So it's a little bit of a mix, but I do think that's worth a shout-out tonight, that I thought those guys really, really battled in that fourth quarter and do that. Lacey says she's going THT and Abaji, so you must be right, Ron Boone.
Me and Lacey, we got it, don't we? Way to go, Lacey.
All right, that is POSTCAST. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be home Tuesday against the Lakers, Thursday against the Thunder, Saturday against the Nuggets, and then it's over. I want 110 games. I like doing this.